How do you move from feeling depressed about your relationships as a sensitive to finding your purpose? So why would a sensitive feel depressed about their relationships? Well, could be because the relationship's not working. They may not have the right strategies and education in order to understand how to get your relationships with left brain people who you're likely relating with to work. But the problem is, even after you get this education, you can still feel a little bit depressed about relationships and a little bit lost on your purpose. And why is that? It's because we have to let left brain people pursue us in order to have healthy relationships. And that can feel a little bit like you've lost your opportunity to lead. You've lost that opportunity to share your values and yourself with the world. And you would hope you would be able to do that in your intimate relationships. You would hope that you can share the values that are important to you and that you can take control of your love life and pull in that partner through your own initiative as a sensitive person. But those strategies don't work. And when you realize what does work is allowing the five sensory to come to you, it almost feels like a loss of control. It can feel quite depressing because you really have no say in who your life partner is in a strange way. You can have a lot of say in the fact that you can discern who is the best one out of your choices, but you can't just pick a random person and say, I'm going to go for them. It doesn't really work that way. You can't really conquer people as a sensitive person. It's not in your nature. It's not what manifests the most easily to all of us as sensitives. As sensitives, it's not really in our nature to manifest by conquering or competing in the same way that it does for left brain people. Can we sometimes compete for something that we want? There are some external goals where we can compete and enjoy the process if you like competing as a sensitive, but truthfully, a lot of us cooperate better than compete, and we thrive on connecting to each other rather than competing against each other. So when we can't actually go out into the world to get a five sensory partner, we can't prove ourselves, we can't find someone to share the relationship, we can't find someone to share the rent with us necessarily or share a mortgage without opening ourselves up to being manipulated by being the pursuer, it can actually feel a little bit sad, like, well, am I ever going to get into a home? It's so expensive out there. And you might even feel as dark as though life is just pointless and depressing and that you don't have control because you can't just pull in a partner on your whim. You can't find the right person. You can't find that person and then show them off on Instagram. That's another thing that people really like to do. But if you're a wise sensitive, you know that showing people off on Instagram is a really bad idea. And so how do we replace that with a sense of purpose? How do you find your purpose if you're already feeling sad or you're grieving the loss that you don't really have control to the fullest extent you'd enjoy over your personal life? The first step is that you have to dismantle beliefs which are just not true. As sensitive people, we are breastfed through fairy tales at a young age that the most meaningful purpose to our lives is to have a romantic partner, settle down and have children, and then do everything and invest everything into that partner so that they can succeed in their careers. At least that's what we're breastfed as women to believe. And it's reflected in society that most people who do marry end up throwing themselves into the marriage emotionally and giving everything they have. And for a lot of partnerships, that's the woman giving everything she has and giving up her career and looking after the children herself and not being able to work because of all those child-rearing duties, or at least taking an extended time off in order to do so, to take care of her body. And when it's always up to us to take care of those domestic duties as women, we miss out on opportunities to create our dream life. We miss out on enjoying a really fulfilling life at times if we're not careful. I'm not saying you can't manage those things if you're married and you have children. It's just very challenging to do so without sacrificing something. And it can be very difficult to voice that on a man if you're a woman. Men have enjoyed that position of privilege where they're used to having things done for them by their wives. And so what we need to realize as sensitives first is that our lives are not based on being somebody's wife or rearing children. In fact, those things should not even come into the equation of what's most important to us. Whoever said that relationships are the most important thing when you die was misinformed. They weren't being discerning enough. Relationships are important. It's just, it doesn't matter what type of relationship it is, as long as you have somebody you love and somebody that loves you. If you have that community with a close-knit group of female friends, or you have that with your parents or with other extended family, you don't necessarily need to have it with husband and children. And in fact, desiring that and chasing that actually really makes the men run away. And so it's not productive at all. And we have to get over those stereotypes and those wishes that we think we might have, and really focus on something that's actually going to fulfill us. That's actually our true heart's desire. And when we find that, that's when we're potentially finding our purpose. If you don't know what your purpose is, you need to push yourself to try new things to figure out what the purpose actually is. And a lot of the stuff you try, you might not even like that much. I went through a phase where I thought I liked computer coding, and then I completely changed my mind and decided I didn't want to do it at all. There was another phase of my life where I wanted to be a filmmaker. There was another one where I loved to paint. But going through all these different phases in my life, some of them were in adolescence, some of them came later in life, allowed me to develop who I actually was and to find my skills. I'm so grateful I spent so much time trying to develop my skills with computers. Even though I realized I wasn't a coder, I got more confident in creating this channel, for example. I have enough tech skill to know what to do with files and organize them and get them ready for the internet. And my librarian skills help me with that too, because there's an element of hashtagging and organizing information as well. Each little stone on our journey provides a learning opportunity. But if we don't look for those stones and pave our path with them, we'll never discover what our path really is. So it's not important if you try something and don't like it, that you wasted your time. The important thing is you grow from it and you learn to move on to the next thing that might be your passion. And keep going until, well, you never really stop, actually. You keep growing and developing yourself your whole life. And it doesn't even matter how old you get in terms of romance. Somebody who grows and loves to continually learn is sexy to intelligent people, regardless of how old you are. Smart people will always be drawn to you. And so don't worry so much about all these romantic relationship stereotypes that are thrust upon us. In fact, they're pretty archaic. What we should be focused on instead is learning how to contribute to society and be an upstanding role model that other people can look up to.